Hello, hello, good evening, parents, parenting after dark family. How are you? I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend and I hope you had a wonderful day today. Um, I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I'm doing well overall. Taking in a lot of fluids, a lot of vitamin C, but all is well. Can't complain. Can't complain. Happy Sunday, happy Sunday. I can't believe we're in March already. But I'm thankful for that. 3 months in so far. I hope your new year is going as planned, or at least you are keeping up with your resolutions or whatever it is, that you've promised yourself to do this year. I hope you're on track with that. I know sometimes that can get a little difficult, but I find that the more I write things down, the more I keep it before me, put little reminders in my calendar that I can get a lot accomplished. So I'm hoping the best for you in that. Tonight, we are continuing our talk on Heart Talks. And I've started the series because I believe in this day and age, parents of teens, the teens in and of themselves are facing a lot of things. Their attention, their attitudes, what they believe in, this culture is weighing very heavy on them. I think COVID really exposed a lot of what a lot of people are dealing with, especially the youth, when it comes to certain things. And so, having, navigating going through a pandemic, it was really hard on a lot of people, but I think especially for the youth. So, with this series, I wanted to actually just talk to parents of teens because I want to be, honest with you and just say it's hard, especially if you were like me, a single parent. It's really hard bringing up a child on your own. But the teen years is special years because those are the years right before they go into adulthood. That actually should be a preparation time for them, as so when they enter into adulthood, they have, some of the basic essential things they're going to need in life. And that's the topic that I wanted to talk about tonight. I wanted to talk about life talks, having life talks with your teens about life. And I want to ask you a question. Have you prepared your teen for life, for adulthood? Now, if you're one of those parents who started doing certain things when they were young, and then, going into the tween years, you started, maybe drilling some things in, trying to help them build good habits, great. That means you've done a lot of the groundwork. But if you were not, and you find now that you are having a lot of pushback from your team, they really don't want to listen, the typical behavior that they may, be doing, you got to start getting them prepared for life. So I want to just encourage you to begin to, spend that time with them to find out who they are, find out, some things about what they feel or what they believe. And in life talks, I mean, you're not going to go to them and say, let's have a life talk, right? But you want to just start having conversations, and you want to have conversations around certain things. So the focus is on them. You're allowing them to do a lot of the talking, and you are active listening. That means you should be able to repeat back what they said, not just to give a response, but to openly hear what they're saying, to openly hear them and what they're thinking about. And so You know, have certain questions. Find out what they know about uh, shopping. Things that are fun, but it's really just designed to get them to engage in conversation so you can see where they are, right? If they just spend money and they're coming to you, maybe you've allotted them an allowance and yet they're still coming to you for money, then that's an indication that they don't have good money management skills. I'm just going to keep it real with you. So you have to start helping them to start, preparing for those next steps, right? Because you don't want to be having this conversation with them at 35. You don't want to be having conversations about money management at 35. You don't want to, about paying bills and what it means to, pay your bill on time and, and all this kind of stuff. You really don't. A lot of times it does happen. Um, you'll find that you are reiterating some things with your adult children that you told them, before. But this is more intentional. And so you want to be doing and having these life talks regularly. I'm talking about maybe even weekly, where you're having fun, you're hanging out, but you're finding out what they know about a particular situation. What do they know about safe sex? What do they know about, um, thinking about commitment and marriage, right? These are the kind of conversations you need to have with your kids. How do you stay safe? How do you know when you're ready to have sex? How do you know this is the person that you want to have sex with? Is it just lust where you're like, oh, I'm feeling them, they feeling me, they look good, I look good to them, blah, blah, blah. Because believe it or not, that's what they do. But also, that's what some adults do as well. So these life talks are really meant for you to find out what they think about it, what they know about a particular subject, and then offer some other perspectives or another perspective on how to do it in a more better way. Now, if you don't know how to do that, let's just say you don't know how to have a conversation about sex and using birth control, or having just one partner and being monogamous. Maybe you don't feel comfortable with that. I would encourage you to find someone that you trust, that to kind of help have that conversation with them, because you just don't want to throw a penny in the wishing well and hope for the best. That's not what we do. That's not good. And honestly speaking, teens want to talk to their parents because they just, yeah, we can be corny, I'll be honest. But at the same time, there is a part of them that does want your input, that does want to know what you think, that does care about what you think or what you believe about sex and having relationships, right? And so you want to, if you don't feel comfortable with that, then I would encourage you to find someone that you feel comfortable with who can talk to your child about sex, because that is a very big thing. Some teens will, they know about it enough to know that they're not ready, and and others may not. Others may feel like, look, I want to be with every person that I want to be with, that I find that I like or whatever, and that's it. And so you have to talk to them and have those conversations to help them to make the right choices. So they should be using condoms all the time. If they're not getting tested for STDs, then they should be doing that, right? And so you want to start having these conversations with them to engage them, so that when they find themselves in certain positions or certain circumstances or situations, they know how to respond. They know what to do because you've already been engaging with them in that way. Give them a task, assign them responsibility, like they have to pay the light bill. Give them a certain amount of money and tell them these are the bills that you're responsible for paying for me every month. And you teach them how to do it. They can either call, They can either set up an account so it can be electronically done or whatever, but this is their responsibility. And so you want to start teaching them and getting them in the habit of living life, but also taking responsibility. It goes hand in hand, right? So you want to start doing things like that because, again, this is the preparation, or I rather say, sort of like, I don't even want to say the final preparation, but I will say this is a the preparation before they start going into adulthood, that you want them to have some security. Okay, you want them to have some understanding, some knowledge. And if they don't have enough knowledge, of course, you want to do as much as possible to make sure that they are knowledgeable. Okay, so start coming to them with certain situations. I have this situation about life insurance. I want you to, what do you think about this? You know, let them read some information, get them involved, right? And so now they understand, okay, this is how I prepare for later on in life. Should something happen, I have this in place for my family. It's never too early, really. But if you haven't started having these life talks, then you're putting your teen at a disadvantage. You're letting the world or the culture mold and shape their beliefs and what they should be thinking and how they should be thinking. You have to be the primary person in, instilling that understanding, instilling that thought process, for doing things a specific way. All right. Um, in these life talks, I would encourage you also to find out what they learned. A lot of what my daughter learned, she learned through observing and watching me. And I think I shared that on um, maybe the episode before the last week's episode. So I guess that would be episode 2. I'm not sure. But I also shared it in some other episodes. She learned a lot through watching me and how I live my life. So if she saw me robbing Peter to pay Paul, she learned, okay, this is how you pay bills, right? If she saw me, just out in the street and spending money, and now we got to find some way to do this, and then she learned about paying bills through my shenanigans, right? It's impossible to tell your kid to do something when you're not doing it. That's not how that works, right? So they do what you do, right? Period. They follow and do what you do. Now, if they see you coming home and say, "Okay, I can call this particular uh, bill company and say, hey, listen, can I have an extension?" That's one thing. That's taking the responsibility to say, yes, I just need an extension 2 or 3 days. That's different. But if they're seeing that you are not doing something like that, and you're just spending money or just doing whatever, and then they see you get on the phone and say X, Y, and Z to a creditor, it's like you just, if you were talking about integrity and honesty and things like that, that just went out the window, right? And so you want to start having these life talks and finding out, what did they learn, or what have they learned so far? What have they learned about love? Do they believe in love? Right? Do they believe that there is a soulmate? There's one person for everybody. Find out what they've learned about life, and then ask them, where did you learn that? How did you learn that? And make it very carefree. So it's a very non-judgmental, conversation between you and them. Where did you learn that? How did you learn that? And then, just talk and find out. And sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, you shouldn't respond right away. You should take in all of what they're saying and then go back and have your time when you're spending alone to see, how could I now, you know, reply to this or respond to these things? What are some things I would like for them to tweak in their understanding, in their learning, right? And how can I, provide them with the right information? You know, not so much of being um, like perfect, doing it this way and that way. No, it's about introducing this information to them and saying, you know what, this might be a better way to look at this. You might like to date a lot of people. So, find out, okay, so you like to date a lot of people. What does that look like? Does dating mean just going out, hanging out? You have conversations, where it's like you're trying to get information, but it's not like you're trying to be nosy. It's really like trying to just again get to see where they are and what they think about this particular thing. Do they believe that there is one career? You know, um, I think I shared with my daughter that she went through several things before she eventually narrowed it down. And I was okay with that because I was like, if this is her choices and this is what makes her happy and she's getting up and she's just all the creative juices are flowing, then I'm gonna go with that flow. She doesn't have to be, what I think she has to be. I had to let that go and say, what does she want to do? What makes her happy? What's in her heart to do? And when I started getting on board with that, I found a lot more freedom in my parenting, and she was able to do what was in her heart. It just became easier. It became easier to talk with her and for her to express herself in different ways, and I was okay with it. And then one day she just lined up and she said, "Hmm, I want to go into law." It's like something else happened, and she was like, this is what I want to do. It took her some time to get to that, but she explored different areas of different careers or and doing different things, and then she eventually found her path. So it's the same thing in the other respect to life. You want to have these talks and these conversations to find out where they are and then offer information that may be helpful. Well, you know what, why don't you think about this? You know what I'm saying? And what do you think about, maybe going in this direction? I've always seen this and how you displayed this particular interest or whatever. Have you maybe thought about a career in X, Y, and Z, right? They can say, yeah, or they can say, you know what, I never thought about that. I'll look into it. Okay. But it's getting them in the habit of having that mental thought process, thinking about it, making some notes, helping them with that decision making process, all of that. Now, through these next whatever many years, if they're 16, then you really got into like 21, I would say. 25 is like the last uh, age for adolescence. So adolescence officially ends around 25, right? So if they are 15, 14, 15, you have some time now to begin to hone in on certain skills. You want to make sure they have enough life skills. And that includes, like I said, assuming responsibility for paying bills, how they communicate and the way they communicate, relationships, the kind of relationships they have, helping them to discover some red flags of when something might not be the best fit for them. Relationships where it's like, okay, that's not a friend. They left you somewhere, they did X, Y, and Z, they exposed your information, they betrayed you. That's not a friend. Helping them to navigate those things at the same time, helping them to make the connection, right? Because we certain things, now as an adult, okay, this for sure is not somebody that I want to be a friend, because you recognize, you understand, but they're not at that point because they're still in that stage where they want to be accepted and they want to have their be surrounded by their peers and different folks, right? So for them, it's about helping them to navigate that by showing them some things, and then trusting and believing that, they heard you, and that when the time is right, they'll know how to act um, accordingly. So you want to really begin to have these life talks with them, and these open heart conversations with them. If there's things that they're struggling with, um, their identity and who they are. This culture is very much has been pushing, identity in different respects that may be contrary to, your beliefs and values, right? This culture has been, pushed a lot of things. And so the reality is that think about, have them, have those conversations. What do you think? How do you feel about this? And if they say something that is a little shocking, don't freak out. At least try not to freak out. Um, but just find out. Just again, allowing them to openly talk to you and have those conversations to find out what are they really thinking about this. Sometimes they're thinking about stuff and it's not really concrete, and so it's not about it being etched in stone, but it can be a little shocking. It could be a little much, right? And so, again, having those open conversations and those open discussions. And as time goes on, I'm telling you, it gets easier because you start to realize that it's not as bad as you may have thought. It is not as serious as you may have thought. And you actually will probably start having fun and enjoying these talks with them, and then sharing, listen, share some of the things you've been through. I think I said this before, but I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it. Share some of the things you went through as a teen. If you can even sit back and just think about your life as a teenager and what you went through as a teenager and how your relationship was with your parents, how difficult or easy it was to talk to them, then you'll kind of be able to flow with your own children, with your own teens about life. And it'll help you to navigate, right? What are some of the things you wish you could have talked to your parents about? Maybe you had parents you couldn't talk to. You it was like, I know I can't talk to them. Forget it. I can't get nothing. That's fine. But was there an aunt, uncle, a TT, or somebody that you wouldn't have mind talking to about certain things that you would have been open to hearing, their thoughts on? Think about that with your teen. It's probably the same feelings. Scared, what is mom gonna think? Are they gonna hate me? Are they gonna think I'm weird? Right? And then you navigate from there. But for the most part, I just wanted to come on to that. I wanted to talk about that with Life Talks, preparing your teen for adulthood. We gotta, you know, we just, as parents, we gotta get them on point with certain things. A lot of things, and let me say this, and I know I said this before, you're not going to be able to teach your teen everything. You're not going to be able to teach your children everything. It's just impossible. Because there are some things in life they're going to have to learn through trial and error. There's certain things they're going to have to learn through making bad choices or whatever it is. They're going to have to see the outcome of that and then they'll learn. Okay? And so don't be worried or concerned about, oh, I didn't teach them this, I didn't teach them that. Teach them, love them, and live life, and pattern your life in a way that they can see it in action. So they should see you, excelling. If you ever wanted to go back to school, I went back to school when my daughter was in high school to finish getting my degree. Live your life in that way to see them, for them to see you living life and doing the same thing that you may be sharing with them about staying motivated, pursuing your dreams or whatever it is. You live your life accordingly, and again, be open to them. Be open to having that regular time every week And I'm saying every week, but ideally it should be as much as possible because I'm telling you, with today's culture, with the things that are going on in the world, there's a constant vying of the attention of our youth to pull them and to go in all these other directions. There is a serious attack on the family as it is. There's a serious attack on our relationships. And so when I say attack, I mean like there's all of these agendas that are out there. And some of them you have to really be careful and say, okay, I don't know if I want to go in that direction. I don't know if I believe that. And you have to challenge it. But it starts with your family, and having those conversations, even with some of the younger ones, that's age appropriate conversations with them, right? So you're not going to go as deep, of course, with the younger ones, but with your teenagers, you got to start having those heart talks, those life talks, making sure they're on point with certain things, and making sure they know how to handle themselves when they do go to parties and how to behave, what to look for, how to have, a plan. If things go down, this is what you do and how you do it. You need to be preparing them for every sort of situation. If somebody's following you, what to do, how to, contact the police. If you're in college campus and things are getting crazy, how to make that exit. These conversations should be all the time. I'm saying every week because I'm thinking if you're working, they're going to school, but these conversations ideally should be on a regular basis. And it's not just again about you just pouring that information. It's finding out what they're thinking about, what they believe, what do they know, how do they know to do, and then you follow up with that. You follow up with things that should really be a priority for them at this point. How to handle themselves, dating, relationships, things like that. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. We'll continue again next week with Heart Talks episode 5. If you have questions, please email me at the number one parentingafterdark@gmail.com. My name is Antoinette Clay. I am your host and the creator of this podcast, Parenting After Dark. Take care, have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday live right here again at 8 p.m. on YouTube.